2024 Goffstown Select Board meeting. First agenda, as always, is the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please join us? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we're going to do the acceptance and correction of minutes, public and non-public, from 4/22 and 24. I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion on the minutes for public and non-public minutes for 4/22/24.
Second. Any discussion, corrections? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes 4-0. I have a couple of announcements. We have a proclamation in honor of the millions of public employees at federal, state, county, and city, town levels, whereas the citizens are served every single day by the public servants at the federal, state, county, city, town levels. These unsung heroes do the work that keeps our communities working. Whereas public employees take not only their jobs, but sometimes their oath to fulfill their duties. Whereas many Goffstown employees, such as police officers, firefighter, public works employees, and others, risk their lives each day in service of the residents and visitors to our town. Whereas the public employees that serve in this community includes police officers, firefighters, public works employees, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency dispatchers, administrators, educators, and countless other occupations. Today in and day out, they provide the diverse services that needed by the community with efficiency, integrity, and high levels of training. And whereas public servants at every level provide the community with service that can be challenging in the environment that regularly changes as leaders and elected officials. Therefore, we, the Select Board, Town of Goffstown, County of Hillsborough, State of New Hampshire, do hereby proclaim to all citizens of our community and proclaim that week of May 5th through May 11th, 2024 as Public Service Recognition Week. All citizens are encouraged to recognize the accomplishments and contributions of the municipal employees here at the town level. This given under our hand and seal the 22nd day of April, the year of our Lord, 2024. We actually did this last week, but we wanted to read it because this is the week. Again, we have another one. Whereas, again, this communities across the United States will honor and remember those law enforcement officers who made the ultimate sacrifice, as well as family members, friends, and fellow officers they left behind. And whereas the members of the Goffstown Police Department perform both routine and emergency duties daily to protect the well-being of our citizens, the visitors, and the visitors to the town of Goffstown. And whereas providing 24/7 aid to the citizens of this town, along with protection of life and property, is their primary mission of the police officers and support staff of the Goffstown Police Department. And whereas the Goffstown officers and staff of the Goffstown Police Department dedicate thousands of hours of training each year to provide the best possible response to any situation that may arise in town. And whereas the Goffstown Police Department displays its affinity for our community by holding National Night Out, along with other events from time to time, and by having the Department Police Comfort K-9 Libby attend public events, along with visitors to various locations around town for the enjoyment of many. And whereas this National Police Week occurs from Sunday, May 12th through Saturday, May 18th, 2024. Now, therefore, we, the Select Board, Town of Goffstown, County of Hillsborough, State of New Hampshire, promote the recognition week of May 12th through the 18th, 2024 as National Police Week, and we encourage our communities to observe this week with appreciation for the Goffstown Police Department, officers, and staff that provide service to the town of Goffstown. This is given under our hands and seal on the 6th day of May in the year of our Lord 2024. And it's signed by the Board of Selectmen. Are there any other announcements, Doc?
There's one in the packet at tab 4.
Yeah, got it. This is a reminder that the parking restrictions dates for Goffstown Glen Lake Boat Launch and Waterfront Area Ordinance are in effect beginning May 15th, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Parking along Elm Street in the area of the boat launch is restricted to Goffstown residents only who display a resident transfer sticker on their vehicle. Stickers for residents can be obtained from the transfer station during normal business hours, Tuesday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. The designated trailer parking only area will remain open to anyone with a trailer attached to their vehicle without restriction year-round. There is a no trespassing from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. at the Glen Lake Boat Launch waterfront area. Alcoholic beverages are prohibited at the Glen Lake waterfront, along with any glass bottles. Glen Lake is a carry-in, carry-out facility. The above restrictions are posted at the Glen Lake Boat Launch waterfront area for convenience. Anybody else? Nothing? Okay, is there anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on. We have an appointment with the Goffstown Main Street Program. You guys ready?
I'm Tina. I'm happy to introduce Chloe here, who is a very talented designer by trade.
Can we get you, just before we get started, can we get your full names and addresses for the minutes?
Yeah. My name's Chloe Dubois. My address is 3 Winding Brook Road, Goffstown.
Tina Lawton, and my address is in Manchester, 169 Ash Street.
That's fine.
And she has been providing, she is the leader chair of the design team, and we have been working on a project. I'm very excited to have her share it with you today.
Great. Awesome. I believe you might have a 15-page presentation within your packet, but I can go ahead and read through it, give you the skinny. Basically, our design team is looking for a way to activate downtown in a family-friendly way that is also participatory. So we'll be deploying about 5, or we're looking to deploy about 5 metal cutouts, like this one right here, made by our friends at Northeast Sheet Metal down the road, and some other community members who are going to help make this happen. This is a scavenger hunt, so to say, with a bit of a narrative. Glennie, the Glen Lake monster, has gotten lost above the dam, but she has bug friends in town, and they can help her get back home. So we're inviting families to, or anyone who wants to participate, to, when they find a critter, it will be paired with a QR code that then brings them to a web page where they'll get more clues as to where the other critters are, as well as entering into a kind of sweepstakes raffle with putting their email address in there. Once they find all 5 or 6 pieces, they'll be entered into our raffle. And yeah, so we're speaking with the town just because the pieces, we are going to have the pieces kind of all over the stretch of Main Street. We'll be partnering with businesses who we're associated with, and to have them apply to be a part of this project, since it is a limited amount of pieces. So we're putting together a questionnaire for businesses to fill out and tell us how they can benefit from the project, and how they can also benefit us. And you'll see some kind of examples that I made in the packet of what that could look like. And we'll be working with them in their private property to deal with that, their landlords and whatnot. We're hoping to make these minimally invasive, kind of strapping to a wrought iron fence. You can see there's like a page with an ant right outside the bakery, and that would be something strapped right to the fence. There is a possibility that we might be more on closer to town property, a bit closer to the street. The next page of it has an example of if it were to go at the library, staked to the ground. And I just kind of wanted to bring these things to the town's attention as we move forward, find out which businesses would be participating. We would like to work with the town to make sure that these are secured and high quality, because we're looking for this to be you know, a high quality piece of artwork to represent the town and visitors to downtown. I guess I could keep going through like our story and everything that's in the packet, or I can kind of open up for questions.
Anybody got any questions?
Yeah, just
Go ahead,
just a couple.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea, but
Thank
how
you.
many characters would you have?
We have drawn up, I believe, 6 so far. Yeah, we have 6. So we have Glennie, who would be a little larger, placed closer to the river. We're hoping along the fence by the Rotary Park, or even on the bike path side of the park, to encourage people to go around and visit that section. That's something we'll end up having to discuss internally with our team, where that will end up being. That one will be about, say, 4 feet long at the largest. A bit of it, we want these to be a statement. You can see them from the street. I don't know if it looks like your packet's printed in color, but we are looking to go for just kind of vibrant, fun colors. And then the other bugs will be maybe a little bigger than this sample that Northeast Sheet Metal printed for us.
I don't know if it said in here, but I missed it. How long would they be out? How long would they?
We would like through the summer. We would be taking them down for winter. And our goal is to also kind of activate within our nonprofit, potentially auction these pieces off, maybe in conjunction with other events. But they would go down in the autumn. Date not determined yet, though.
Are you concerned about theft?
Theft? Yes, yeah. So we, most of these, if it's like something on the wrought iron fence and strapping it to that, that's a pretty, like, that's a solid, it would be like a plumber's strap to screw it on. That's a little more involved. The ones that might get staked into the ground, I might have taken it out of here just to keep the proposal simple, but there are anchoring mechanisms where you can kind of bury like a upside down kind of triangle anchor and then lift it up. And that's something that I would potentially like to speak with someone from the town who potentially has, like, you might have to dig a little deeper in that case. So that's kind of why we wanted to have it on your radar, just in case that comes up. We're also asking our businesses in our questionnaire if they have some security measures, like security cameras, motion censored lights, etc.
When was the start date?
Start date, we would like to deploy these in June, but it also depends on, I guess, kind of the blessing of the town. If we were to get that, as soon as we have that, we'll be moving quickly to get these made and determine a date based off that.
Yeah, there was some
Call us if you have
advice.
something.
So you will be monitoring these throughout the summer in the event they need maintenance, upkeep,
Yes.
repair, replacement, whatever?
Absolutely, yeah. We'll definitely have eyes on them to patch any paint spots. We are trying to make these so they're going to be, they're laser cut metal right now, and then we'll be working with Twisted Fender to potentially get automotive paint sprayed on them, so it should be very durable and will last the summer outside.
Interesting, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Mark, you got any questions?
You got the idea, as I'm reading here, from Rochester?
Yeah, Rochester actually had a really similar activation going on, where they had their Main Street program put out these Bigfoots, and it was a similar scavenger hunt where you're supposed to take a picture, hashtag it, and send it in. We wanted something a little more like closer to our town, and just a little more like another level of interactivity with the different creatures. But you can see a bit about Rochester's project on the link that I provided there. I visited Rochester last summer, and I thought it was the cutest thing to kind of walk around town and see.
How many do they put out?
They put out, I think, 10, and they were big. The ones that they put out, we're hoping to be a little less not as big as them, but something. We did a survey recently with our social media followers of Goffstown Main Street program, and they told us they valued gardens and the outdoors seemed to be a prevalent theme. So we want to kind of go with something that fits
I
that.
think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
I would recommend that, Derek's gonna love me for this, but you clear it with the town administrator where they go on town properties. If we put them on town property, you should clear it with you.
Okay.
Is that fine?
Yeah, that's fine. I think the only thing is if they were gonna do it on the public library lawn there, that we
Then we
clear
have to
that
go-
with the library.
Right, library
Yeah.
trustees.
But yeah, I can work with Main Street on that.
Awesome. It would be something like the library is an organization that we're affiliated with, like the submission would go to them as well. So it's not necessarily determined that they'd be at the library, but of course, public-facing, family-friendly businesses will most likely take priority.
I think it's a great idea. I think it brings some color, some interest to downtown area. I
Yep.
think it's very creative.
That's exactly what we're going for. Thank you so
Need a
much.
motion, Derek?
I think the motion would be kind of like a blanket motion that you would give permission for them to put it on town property, as well as consult with
Library.
library, town administration, as well as DPW for installation.
So move.
And approval from.
Motion by Jim, seconded by
Final locations.
Mark, seconded.
Did you want this to come back to the board for
Well,
final?
I think it'd be done administratively. I think. it
Yes,
should come back.
yes, okay.
Just okaying the final locations, just so we know where they're at.
Yep, yeah, we can communicate that.
Thank you.
Great.
So the motion by Jim was seconded by Mark. Any discussion, further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes 4-0.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have fun.
And then is there any really contact information to go forward? So are you the town administrator?
Yes, we've been communicating by email.
Oh,
so
that
if
was
you
you
just-
me.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Next up is the Village Bridge Ad Hoc Committee. And that's on tab 7.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Andrew Cataract, 22 West Union Street, also Chair of the Village Bridge Ad Hoc Committee. And I want to thank you for inviting me here to present. This is our final report. The Village Bridge Ad Hoc Committee, I'll just say the committee if I could, was established in, I believe, March 22, and it had an end date of May 1st, 24. So what you have here is a final report from the committee. I do want to thank the members that were on the committee. If you can see in the report, you know, we estimate at least 163 hours of volunteer time. We had a number of meetings and a lot of discussions, so Paula Bedard, Vice Chair, Tina Lawton-Scribe, Collis Adams, Select Board Rep Dick Bruno, EDC Rep David Neiman, Conservation Commission, Rick Wilhelm, Parks and Recs, Cynthia Beauvair, Goffstown Rotary Club, and David Pierce for the Friends of the Goffstown Rail Trail. We put a lot of work into it. So I'll kind of go to on the bottom of page 1 where there's considerations. I assume I don't need to go too much into the background of the committee, but in looking at this, we did want to bring forward a couple thoughts as we move towards the deliverables, and one clearly was the Piscataquag River Dam concerns. And we just wanted to say, the committee, no matter what happens, strongly recommends a pedestrian bridge there. I don't know who's walked down the rail trail recently, but it's beautiful. And having a pedestrian bridge right there would just be the pinnacle of a really beautiful trail right into the village with a Glenny sign on the side. So the committee, regardless of what happens there, we really strongly recommend the bridge. It would complete the rail trail, and whatever happens with DES, there may be opportunities to leverage what we're doing on the bridge with whatever DES decides in the future. Also, there's been a lot of construction, as you know, along the rail trail. A number of condos have gone in, and this again is just like that corridor right into the village. And so, not that people are using the rail trail to commute, but certainly people are visiting our community. You know, on a Saturday down here, there's just bike after bike after bike coming to that rail trail and ending, unfortunately, at the bridge. Some of them come into town, but a lot of them just end there. And so to review the deliverables of this committee's deliverables were really to evaluate opportunities for funding, and then to establish a nonprofit 501c3 to accept donations for the bridge. Those were the deliverables. And what the committee would like to recommend, and is down in recommendations is two, is, we did look at a number of funding alternatives, opportunities. The most prominent one, and one right in our face, is this Transportation Alternative Grant Program. And we talked about this last time we were here. It comes up for application in the fall of 2024. If we miss it, I think it's a 3-year window before that will come around again. Is that correct, David? 3 years? 4-year window. So if there is an opportunity, this is the most prominent one that's right there in front of us. And we laid out the kind of timeline for this. It's 5-year money if you're awarded it. The dollar amount that comes with this is in line with what the potential construction of the bridge would be. There absolutely may be other opportunities. For example, on page 3, we put this RAISE grant, private foundations. Those may exist, but really until you create that 501c3 or that entity that's going to help to facilitate that, it's really hard to nail down anything other than this one that's staring us right in the face. So as far as a grant opportunity coming up for funding, this TAP grant is absolutely something we should consider, or else we're going to have to wait another 4 years to get on that wagon. Second deliverable is the establishment of a nonprofit, and we, again, presented this back in June, I think, of last year. We could do that, but there is a nonprofit willing to be that fiscal agent, willing to take on that role. So under 2, we're recommending don't establish a nonprofit, sign an MOU with the Friends of the Goffstown Rail Trail. They've got 97% of that rail trail done. This is the end of the rail trail. It makes sense to take that opportunity to work with them. And I would encourage the select board to do this sooner rather than later, because I think we're missing opportunities to promote it, to get donations, if someone came to us with money, we wouldn't have an entity to facilitate that, or we couldn't fundraise at events. And then finally, the last recommendation that we would like you to consider, I know it's not part of the scope, but we would like to continue working for the town to make this happen. And our charter is ending, and we're putting forward, if you would like this to continue, if you would like to apply for the TAP grant, if you'd like the nonprofit to fundraise, having us on to continue those efforts, to continue to move this forward, we would be willing to do that. And so our request is that you extend the charter for another 2 years so that we can continue to support the town with the grant application, allow us to fundraise, attend pumpkin regattas, whatever it is, to help promote and facilitate the construction of this wonderful opportunity. And then the last one under other recommendations is, at some point, if we apply for the TAP grant, the Department of Works has got to be involved in that. And so somehow connecting the Department of Works to this committee would be a priority, because we are not going to be able to quote what it's going to cost for X, Y, Z, or move the grant application forward without some engineering, someone who knows the engineering, and we're not engineers. And then, so that's our recommendations, and we do thank the Select Board for the opportunity and hope you'll consider continuing the charter so that we can continue to move this forward. The last is just an attachment of what we presented last fall at the Pumpkin Regatta, and it's just a marketing piece. The Select Board had reviewed this and approved this, and it's just, there's opportunities, I think, to continue this, and we would like to do that. So thank you. And if you have any questions, or if you want to take a vote to extend the charter, we'll be willing to.
Well, I think the first step is, if you want to continue on, would be to extend the charter. If you're asking us to commit $250,000 at this time, at least myself, I couldn't support that at this time. As you know, we're in a default budget. Our fire department was turned down on their $250,000. The pool was defeated, and for us, I think it would be, I'm not sure if we would be, the look would be if we come up with a pedestrian bridge at $250,000. Now, I understand, Andy, that you said, Andrew, that you're going to fundraise, but that's not a guarantee. And what happens if we go for that, you get the grant, and you don't have the funds?
I would defer to David for some guidance on that, but if you don't start, you're never going to get anywhere. And if we want a bridge in the community, we need to start by applying for these grants. It's 4 years out. I don't know what the opportunities are. I have no idea. We need to get a nonprofit on board so that we can investigate these and move these things forward. David, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that, if you could? Thank you.
I'd just like to stress,
Okay, say who you are.
Dave Pierce, 21 Mill Street, member of the Bridge Committee. I only want to stress a possible timeline which addresses your concern, Chair. If a grant was submitted and the town was fortunate enough to receive that grant, it would be, the grant would be approved in June of '25, a year and a quarter from now. And with the approval of the grant, it's 5-year money. So along that timeline, so that's June of '25, there's a possibility like in March of '26 would be your first opportunity to consider raising the 20% match. If that fails, you have June of '26, '27, but it's because it's 5-year money.
Jim?
My question is, do you have to have, do you have to spend any money to file the grant? In other words, for engineering, or do you have to have anything that, upfront money, I guess, to file a grant?
No.
And College, you were on the committee.
Yeah, first
The
of all-
grant would pay for the combination of the land acquisition, which you've already have a deal for. The grant would pay for the design, the construction, and the oversight of professional engineering.
So you say if we want a bridge and they'll give you the money, okay?
Collis?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Andy for chairing the committee, and I want to thank the members of the committee for moving this along. There was a lot of work, there were a lot of hours put in. I want to make sure that they're recognizing. I see several in the audience, so thank you all for all of your hard work moving this forward. I think it's a great opportunity. I think that the rail trail is a wonderful asset to this town, however, there's a missing link. You can't go from one end of the rail trail to the other without coming out onto public streets, which I don't think is a great idea. This would create that missing link and complete the rail trail, in my opinion. So, great work, looking forward to it. The recommendations, I think, are appropriate, and I certainly will support them. I will support extending the charter for another 2 years to continue the work so that we can follow through as the grant process moves along. I think that's very valuable and very important. But I also want to point out, there is no ask for money at this time. That's correct. No ask whatsoever for money. Just so those people that may be watching, I know there's other competing interests for a limited number of tax dollars, but at this time, let's be clear, there's no ask. Thank you.
Mark?
No, I'm in favor of the extension. As Collis said, Jim said, I kind of back them up, and I look forward to having a bridge in town. You know, we'll see what happens. I know, as Peter said, the chair of the board, we're in a tight budget crunch with the budgets being the way they are. And I don't feel it would be fair to just hand over $250,000 right now. Let's start, we have, according to what David said, 5 years, right? I mean, we've got a 5-year window here. Let's
Leaving some slack for the actual construction.
I agree, David, I agree. I mean, like I said, I'm in favor of that 2-year extension for the charter, and we'll see what happens from there. And I'll say, good luck, and we'll see what happens.
Jim, go ahead.
Okay, if we vote on this today, does that mean they have the green light to apply for, I just want to be clear what we're doing.
Well, personally, the way this is written, I'm concerned where it says the town article to raise the 20%, if applicable. And I don't want to commit the town in 20 or 26. Well, this board will be changed, and we're going to be requiring the future board to come up with that article. And I don't think that's the way it should be done.
Well, I don't know, that's my question, I'm not sure that that's what we're voting on today.
acceptance of the final report, I believe would be the appropriate response here. And any hard issue dealing with money, Mr. Chair, would be the submission of a grant application. At that point, when you submit the application, you have to have some willingness to, somewhere within the next 1 or 2 years, ask the voters for a 20% match.
And that's what I'm not willing to do.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
and I
that's-
think I'm making that, it's nothing against the project, it's the finances.
Yes.
If we had the 250,000 over here and that you had raised up privately, fine. But to try to put it in writing that in 2 years, we're gonna try to raise 250,000.
But it could be through private donations. We don't
It
know.
could be,
right?
but this
We
is
don't
not the
know.
way this
We
is
don't-
written.
We don't know.
But that's not the way it's written. And I know, sitting here for many years, that somebody's gonna come by 4 or 5 years ago and says, well, you approved that back in May of 2024, so that's the way it is. And that's what I don't agree with, that voting on this would tie us into raising the funds.
Submission of the grant
David,
inherently
it
says...
says right here, if you
What?
accept this, okay?
We've laid out a possible milestone. The major decision point is to submit a grant, because inherently that says we wish to move forward, and we're going to do the best to correctly raise the 20% match. If you're not successful in raising that 20% match after 1 or 2 years, then the next decision is to turn the grant back in.
You can do that?
It's been done, the TE grants have been turned back in before. I was looking for
I'm
public
not
works.
arguing that point, whether you can turn the grant in or not, you still, if you don't raise the funds, you're gonna be coming to the public and asking for the money. And you're tying us, this board, to this, which says that. And that's what I disagree with.
So this
I
is
mean,
our.
am I clear on that? I mean, I'm not really sure. David?
Unfortunately,
David Neiman wants
yes.
to speak.
I know, that's how federal grants work. You apply for a grant, you have some intentions on how to raise the money. And
Hi,
Thank you.
David Neiman, Conservation Commission. I hear you, Peter. I hear exactly what you're saying, and I think the answer is simple. If that's what it says, change the language. Change the language so it isn't making a commitment. Instead, it's creating the opportunity to be able to go forward, apply for the grant, you try to do private fundraising, create the opportunity to try to do it without having to.
I don't
come to the
disagree,
town.
and I'd be fine with that. We
So
changed that.
Change the language.
That you're not holding the town to go and raise the money. I can't get the pools fixed, I can't get the fire station, I can't get a fire truck, and we're gonna talk about building a pedestrian bridge.
I'm with you, I agree. Just change the language, it doesn't have to, the
Yeah,
wording is
excellent.
wrong,
Yeah.
fix the wording, and we can move
Yeah,
forward.
so I'm getting confused about is, this is the final report. If you're voting for a charter, I assume the charter's gonna have new language as to what our
Yes.
role is. It's not going to be the same deliverables. So I'm getting confused about what you're saying. This, as David said, this is the final report, we're submitting this. I don't know if you have to accept it, but part of it is we would like to continue working for the town. I would say that bringing the Friends of the Rail Trail on through an MOU would be important to moving this forward also. So not just create the charter, but I don't know when in that timeline that would need to happen, but it would be really nice if next fall we could say, you know, we've applied for the grant, and if we get it, you know, we'd like to raise funds. This is how you get donations.
Derek, should we do a rewrite on it?
Yes, if you were going to extend that, you would want to revisit the
Okay,
deliverables.
can we do that on that next meeting when we're gonna do the other one too, the same night?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, we'll do that.
Okay.
Collis, did you have something?
Well, I was prepared to make a motion. The motion would be, first of all, to thank the committee for their hard work and accept the final report as presented, including the recommendations, and including a 2-year extension of the ad hoc committee. That 2-year extension will give us an opportunity to work through some of the issues that we've already heard here tonight. And then it'll come back to the select board as it's modified and revised to address concerns like you raised, Peter. So we've got that opportunity to modify the charter the next time around. So I think we can accomplish all of those things. So that would be my motion.
I'll second it.
Okay? So, here again, Collis,
Yep.
if we accept this, I have to know, if we accept the, are we accepting the content of it?
I think you're accepting that this is their recommendation.
Right.
You're not taking any formal action.
Okay, we're not saying we approve this, we're just accepting it.
You're accepting it, you're
Okay,
taking it in, you're
I'm
not
good with
taking
that.
any action on it.
I agree with that, I'm good with
Other
that.
than to extend,
The charter by
charter
2
2
years.
years.
And charter to be determined
within that period.
Right,
Yes.
what our
Right.
next steps are.
right.
I have a motion by Collis, seconded by Jim, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the motion passes.
So now, do we need to do something to the MOU to move that?
No, we're gonna, when we do the meeting on 6, when you're coming back in on, was it 6/3?
The board still needs to decide
Oh,
that
yeah,
this
but-
evening, but yes, the meeting that you were gonna have from last meeting, you had a recommendation to form a river advisory committee, separate from this. We were looking at possibly doing that on an off night, which would be June 3rd. So you could do both that and.
I think that'd be the wise thing to get everything once all together. Andy doesn't have to keep coming back.
I appreciate that.
Not that we don't like to see Andy.
Thanks,
you know.
Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fire chief.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board.
Evening, Chief.
Good evening.
I asked
On tab 8.
to come and have a conversation with you tonight. I'm working on my CIP, and so there's a couple topics of discussion. But before I do that, I just, the package I gave you, this here is the talking points that I'll be going along on. This spreadsheet here, this is the apparatus replacement schedule from 2025 to 2045. And this last document is just an example of a tanker, which I'll talk to as I go into my presentation. As you know, the apparatus capital reserve fund this year failed. That fund was established back in 2008, when they initially put 420,000 in it. The vote this year was 1,539 yes votes, 1,695 no votes, so it failed by 156 votes. And this was the first failure since 2012 to fund that capital reserve fund. So when we have a failure in the capital reserve program, you know, it shifts a number of items, or as you've heard before, kicks the can down the road. And we have some projected CIP costs coming up in the next few years. So after reviewing that, and I'm gonna talk point by point of what's coming up, but I'm gonna ask you to consider increasing the capital reserve fund to $350,000 from 2025 to 2032 CIP. Currently, the balance in the apparatus capital reserve fund is $742,400. The next scheduled apparatus replacement is to replace the 2005 engine in 2026. The estimated engine replacement cost is $1,100,000. And then after this engine replacement, there is a 10-year stretch before another engine would be replaced. After that engine, the next scheduled apparatus replacement is a tower truck in 2030. The estimated tower replacement cost is $2,250,000. And I'll preface that with saying, you know, that's 5 years from 2026. And on this tower too, if you recall, this tower was, we were fortunate we got a FEMA grant for it. And I would assume that in 2030, or when that tower turns 20 years, we would apply for another grant, but it's got to hit that 20-year mark before FEMA will consider it for replacement. If the grant was successful, we would still need funding for the percent match of whatever the grant is. After that, the next scheduled apparatus is an engine tanker in 2032 at an estimated cost of $1.2 million. After looking at our fleet and looking down the road, I'm asking the board to consider replacing the engine tanker in 2032 with a tanker only. That estimated cost is $700,000 versus 1.2 potential. So to break it down even further, the 2025 CIP, the request would be for $350,000. That will give us $1,092,400 to replace that engine in 2026. 2026 to 2030, the request would be for $350,000 each year. That will result in $1.3 million to replace the tower. And then in 2031 and 2032, the CIP request for $350,000 would result in $700,000 to replace with a tanker in 2032. As this builds, the only issue is that in the past, as you're building in a year, should something catastrophic happen, that money that you're building towards replace could go to, fixing a catastrophic failure or something. Those funds would be very limited because we have to go forward. So I think I'll stop there for the apparatus capital reserve. See if you have any thoughts or discussion on that. What the board feels, if that's something that we should look at.
Well, the problem with that is, we did a $250,000 and it got shot down. So throwing $350 out there, it's gonna have to be done in a different way. And there's no way we're gonna be able to put that in the budget now. And the only other way you can do it is by unreserved fund balance, and last year we didn't have enough to do anything, We couldn't even use it to offset taxes, which we really should be trying to do, because of the way people are thinking right now. I don't know if we could do 350.
Right, and on the last page, I did go back historically since 2008 and looked at, the fire apparatus capital reserve fund. And the thing that stands out is, and I fully understand on the unexpended fund, whenever we ask for those fund with the unassigned fund balance, the CFR fund passed. It's only when we went to the voters and asked for direct taxation, so you're right, So I agree,
So you're here now going forward for CIP.
yes.
Derek, you got anything?
No, again, we're not in the budget process yet.
Right.
This is, CIP is a planning tool of the planning board, so it's a little bit more focus on the needs of the community and planning for those needs rather than the strict dollars and cents, but.
Ambulance 3 comes out of the ambulance fund, right?
That's
Yes.
correct.
So the only thing you're gonna have is the 2025, is the car 2, at 70,000?
75,000, yes.
Oh, okay, I thought it said 70. Command vehicle replacement here is 70,000.
Right, I'll be asking for 75 if the board, because of the cost increase. It's been, any of the utility replacements, in the last 7 or 8 years has been 70,000 straight. And, you know, with cost increase, it's pushing more towards 75.
Well, you certainly, as a department head and the fire chief, have the right to go to CIP and ask for anything. You know, when it comes back and we have to take a look at something or look at where we're gonna get the funds from, that could be a different thing when we go to propose the budget and
Right.
start designing it, so. Anybody got any questions?
I think we've got some work ahead of us as far as public education and outreach as to what exactly these capital reserve funds are for, and how important they are to continuing operations, and can relate it to a family's budget. They've got a heating system that is deteriorating over the years, and it's getting near the end of its useful life. If that heating system goes down in November, and you don't have money put away in a savings account, which is really what this is likened to, then you're in a world of hurt, because you're gonna have to replace that heating system. That's the purpose of a capital reserve fund. And we need to drive that point home to the public so they understand the next time this comes around, exactly how it benefits the taxpayers.
Yep, I agree.
I guess half the town knows that already.
Well, but you can't say it enough, because obviously,
Well,
it
when
didn't work this
I
year.
get
Okay, on the apparatus capital reserve? I mean, I'm gonna go over, I wanna talk about Station 2, Mass Road. Any more questions on apparatus?
Nope.
Okay. So my next subject is Mass Road Fire Station, formerly Station 19 renovation. This is another CIP item that was first proposed back in 2005. Back then it was for $218,000. In 2013, there was a CIP request which included a additional apparatus bay that was at 1.1 million. Between 2014 and 2016, they were attempting a bond for all 3 fire stations, so the bond failed. So it was part of it, but it really wasn't. Then the last CIP request was in 2020. That was for $1.6 million. So in 2022, the CIP committee recommended to go in increments and try and break down that total cost of 1.6 over the years. They recommended 50,000. However, at the time, the fire department asked to postpone the renovation project of 1.6 to 2026. Then in 2023, that 1.6 renovation project was requested, and again last year was requested at 1.6. So my recommendation is, as I put in the letter, the Station 2 renovation project has been requested through CIP from as far back as 2004. There've been a few years where it was removed or not placed on CIP to accommodate like the Station 1 addition, or because of other priority requests, they needed self-contained breathing apparatus, some of that other heavy equipment. So regardless, the fire station continues to need some critical HVAC and electrical upgrades. The fire station ramp and parking lot drainage work and paving is needed. And then just general modernization and anticipation of future growth in both, you know, the community and the fire department. So I would recommend a phased-in approach would be the most cost-effective and hopefully acceptable to the taxpayers, because we're really not moving forward with it. So my suggestion would be, in the 2025 CIP request, complete a facility study of GFD Station 2, 656 Mass Road, to evaluate the facilities need and at the same time begin to develop a phased multi-year renovation upgrade of the facility and grounds. I'd estimate the facility study at $20,000. And then last year, we had an estimate done to reconstruct the parking lot and drainage of that facility at about $70,000. So I would recommend $100,000 for this year. So basically what would happen is we would remove the 1.6 million projected for 2026 and in its place put 120,000 and try to start up that program. And then once we do the facility study and you get a cost on what renovations might cost, then we would split that up over the coming years. For example, one year we may say, okay, we're going to do the HVAC. Then the next we're going to do, the electrical upgrade and go from there.
So in '25, you're looking for $470,000. Would that be accurate?
For the renovation? No.
No, I mean, that's what you're looking for with with the capital reserve fund of $350,
Right,
and then your renovation project.
yes.
Well, you can go to CIP with it. I can't guarantee when we get a big look at the big picture, if this board's gonna go for it. And we have to wait and see the big picture back in, October, November, when we start doing the budget.
Right.
I'm sure you can appreciate that.
Yep, I do. I just wanted to come before the board, though. I didn't want you to be, surprised when we come up with CIP and you see the difference in the figures. And
I get it.
Appreciate that.
Anybody else?
Good. Appreciate the early heads up.
All right,
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Rick?
You're getting a late start today.
Huh?
He's getting a late start today.
How you doing?
Good, you?
Excellent. I'm here to actually talk about Roy Park Pool. At our last commissioners meeting in April, the discussion came up about the status of the two pools, both being similar age and all this stuff, and we got into a lot of talk, and both of the pools are in bad shape, but Roy is probably the worst shape. Continually loses water every day. You'd have to replace every single skimmer basket face in a stainless steel wall. We've been band-aiding it with JB Weld for years. It works. It leaks after half a season. Gets kind of crazy. The other thing too is over the time, it's for us to really manage two pools, staffing wise, is become a challenge. Getting the number of bodies that we need. What I'm finding in that area is you might get 10 lifeguards, but all 10 of them aren't going to work 8 hours, 7 days a week. And what we've been doing the past 2 seasons is actually just running Roy Park Monday through Friday, basically for the summer camp program. So I brought that up, and then they asked me how much does it cost to run the pools and all that stuff, and I have a little document that basically shows all that. And it's kind of a hard thing to say, but I think in the long and short of the whole thing, the commissioners really are recommending that we just close Roy Park Pool. That we run one pool, that way there we can put all our efforts in keeping that pool running the best we can over the long haul. If we can average getting 10 guards, we can do a good job staffing it with the way the staffing of today works, the way the kids work today. So their recommendation basically is to go with the one pool. I gave you some further in your documents, you need a magnifying glass to read it, but there's some pool counts, like how many people are using it and stuff like that. And the numbers at Roy are going down as far as usage. The numbers at Barnard are staying strong. The other concern that the commission had was the day camp program at Roy. What we would do is we would just have one camp. One camp is at Barnard Park. Their concerns were, okay, people are already registered for this camp, and do they know about this if we were to close it? And I said, no, we would have to notify them of that switch. But in that light too, I mean, last year we were stuck opening Roy because of some mechanical issues. So the summer camp actually went to Barnard for the first week, and then the last week, 2 weeks, we had to shut it down again because we had more issues. So the pattern of the kids going from day camp over at Barnard, they've seen it. In our day camp world, a couple of years back, we used to always run theme days, and that was always held at Barnard Park. So the pattern is there for the kids to go to the one location. So that was one of their concerns as well.
So it's nothing new, it wouldn't be anything new per se?
No, this would just be, I guess, a permanent, I mean, the juggling around. You know, they asked, you know, can you run the day camp at Roy? Sure, you can run the day camp. But what happens if you have 20 kids that you take and 10 of them say, I'd rather go over to Barnard where the pool is, so now you're going to have 10 people here. You still need 2 staff. What happens if you have staffing issues? It doesn't logistically make it flow. Keep everything in one spot, and then that way there it gives you the opportunity to adjust staff-wise as well.
Okay, Mark?
So if we shut Roy Park down, it would be the parents' responsibility to get them to Barnard Park, correct?
Just as like they did in the
Okay,
past.
no,
Yeah. That's something that's kind of interesting, I find, is everybody says that, and it's like the parents get their children to these places.
Yeah, no, I understand. I don't want,
And it-
I don't want the suggestion to come up, well, now we're gonna provide transportation for them. We're not gonna do that. It's shut
No,
down,
no.
lock, stock, and
You know,
barrel, and there's
and
where you go.
And then if somebody said, well, what about kids walk? I don't see any kid walking or riding their bicycle. I don't see it.
Jim? Do you have anything?
No.
Collis?
So if we shut down Roy, those users, in my mind, are going to now go over to Barnard,
Correct,
increasing the pressure on Barnard,
correct.
which you already know is being held together with duct tape and baling twine, so to speak. Is that going to
It's not gonna affect
accelerate the deterioration?
the number of people in the water is not gonna do anything with the functionality of the
Okay.
pool.
That was my question.
No, I mean, it's all it does, and that pool is pretty darn big. So, I mean, you can take a decent bather load,
Yeah.
providing you have the correct number of staff to bather load,
Sure.
and that's the thing.
Which closing Roy would free up more
Yeah.
people for
Yeah.
work at Barnard.
It
Maybe.
makes staffing
Huh?
more,
I think I heard a couple. How many staff would it free up to go over to Barnard?
well, you figure you need five people on deck at a time, say at Barnard Park, okay? So you could, if you have nine staff, you can rotate these kids through based upon their time frame abilities and days off, et cetera, over 7 days.
Monday through Friday at Roy Park, how many people did you have there?
We had probably, Monday through Friday, you probably had, say, 20 of them are campers.
No, I meant staff.
Oh, staff, I'm sorry. We had 3 on the deck.
Okay.
3 on the deck. we had 4, and then we'd rotate 1 through. So we had basically 4 total, 3 working, if that makes sense. And then what I would do there too is, after camp left, we'd bring it down to 2, because you have less bodies in the water. And that's a much smaller rectangular space too.
That answer your question, Klaus?
Yeah, thank you. And I think, if I remember correctly, you looked up things like splash pools and those sort of things at Roy. Do I recall that correctly? Historically, you looked at other options for providing relief from the heat, let's put it that way.
Yeah, yes, we did. We looked into that. And kind of made some other future recommendations, because we do have to, when this pool is closed, it must retain a recreational value. The commission, our staff, the recreation staff and the commissioners threw out some ideas of what that could become, that pool area down the road.
And is that because of grant funding or other funding for that pool that it has to
Yes.
retain?
Yes, both parks, both
Right.
Barnard and Roy
Yeah,
had, I can never say it. The water fund conservation monies,
okay.
and both of them had that, so you have to maintain a recreational
To
value.
meet those obligations.
Yeah, the stewardship.
Yeah.
You have to continue your stewardship
Yeah.
of that property.
So what we're looking for now is a motion. Derek, would that be accurate?
Yes. If you're gonna close down the,
Right.
go with the recommendation and close down Roy Park.
Pool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pool.
It's a tough one, but I'll do it. I'll make that recommendation.
Yeah, and I'll second it with your, echoing your concern. It's a tough one, but
Yep,
it's reality.
yep.
Yep.
Have you guys looked for grants at all, Rick, or anything for?
For what, Mark?
For replacement of that pool?
Yes, we did. That was all part of the,
Okay.
going down to one pool.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Going down to one pool, and that's the other thing. Okay, let's make one viable pool in a community of 18,000 people instead of 2.
We have a motion by Mark, seconded by Collis. Jim, did you want to?
Just, you're gonna let the campers know that we voted?
Yeah.
if we-
So, yes.
Right away.
And Jim sits on the commission, and the commissioners wanted me to do that like last week. And I said, well, hold on, let me get through this process.
Right.
And know where the direction will be. But yes, Jim, I'll do that tomorrow.
Anything else? So the motion was Mark, seconded by Collis. All in favor of closing down Roy Park Pool?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion 400.
So-
Motion passes.
Okay, so now the next thing is I'm gonna work with Adam, and we have to develop some kind of plan as far as decommissioning the pool. I'll run some numbers and things like that, and I'll be glad to bring that back to you all.
Good enough.
Okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Derek, you're up next. Page 10.
Yes, so tab 10, you have the town administrator's report. You have your meeting committee scheduled for the next 2 weeks. On Wednesday at 6 PM, Economic Development Council will meet in this room. Is that Selectman Craig? Are you
No, not anymore.
It's Kelly.
Kelly.
Okay, I will shoot her a message.
She's not here, she's in London.
Okay, so can somebody cover that?
Hey, Long, that's only just his message.
Huh? Yeah.
Can't do it this Wednesday.
Yep, I'll take care of it.
Okay, thank you. Next week, on Tuesday at 6:30 PM, Sewer Commission will be meeting.
Is that 6:30?
That is correct.
That is correct,
That is
okay.
correct. I did double check that. They had
Is that gonna be permanent or just this?
It's just for this meeting. One of the commissioners was traveling.
Okay.
On Wednesday, 6:30 PM, Library Trustees will be at the public.
I'll be there.
And Wednesday at 7 PM, Parks and Recs Commission.
I'll be there, yep.
Thank you. At your next page, you have a slightly revised consent agenda. It was on your table as you came in. You have employee status reports. You have a police officer for successful completion of probationary period. You have a new hire for a DPW laborer. You have salary adjustment in accordance with employee agreements for the DPW director and fire chief. You have rehires for 3 seasonal laborers. You have a new hire for one seasonal engineering intern, and you have a new hire for Parks and Rec summer ground seasonal position. You have amendment to employee agreements for DPW director and the fire chief. You have 3 event permits, the Goffstown Garden Club plant sale on May 18th on the town common. That's from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. You have the farmers markets, the second and fourth Thursdays. This is down in Pinardville at Jacques Flowers, from 3:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. You have the Goffstown Main Street program, Uncommon Art on the Common, on August 3rd from 8 to 4 p.m. The location is the village area, primarily the town common. And then we also have 2 changes to event permits that were previously granted. The Goffstown Main Street program, Ice Cream Social, celebrating the last day of school. This is shifted to Tuesday, June 18th from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. Due to that April snowstorm. And the Goffstown Historical Society Old Gnome Day. They had originally requested a closure of Mill Street. They recently asked if they could keep Mill Street open and close the Main Street entrance of Town Hall. That would allow them a few more vendors right up front, right by the sidewalk. And the parking lot would still be accessible from Church Street. And both the fire and police department reviewed that request and said they had no concerns. On your next page, you have sympathy cards. You have 3 proclamations, and then you have a thank you letter to the town of New Boston for loaning us an ambulance.
Any questions?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the additions.
Second.
Motion by Collis, seconded by Mark. Any discussion, questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion carries 4-0.
Moving back to the printed packet on page 26, you have your assessor's recommendations. You have a report of excavated material and tax warrant for 2023 tax year for map 6, lot 11-1. You have 2 elderly exemptions that the assessor recommends removal for 2024. You have 1 veteran's tax credit that the assessor recommends approval. You have 2 properties with a veteran's tax credit and service-connected credit that the assessor recommends approval. And then you have application for a current use assessment, one of those that the assessor recommends approval.
Motion to approve the assessor's recommendations as presented this evening.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Jim. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes 4-0.
On your next page, you have volunteer appointments. The Goffstown Conservation Commission has recommended the reappointment of Andrew Chaplin, Amy Pollock, and Evelyn Miller as full members, all with terms ending March 31st, 2027.
Motion to reappoint Andrew Chaplin, Amy Pollock, and Evelyn Miller as full members of the Conservation Commission, all with terms expiring March 31st, 2027.
Second.
Motion by Collis, seconded by Jim. Any discussion, questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes 4-0.
The Goffstown Planning Board met and they made a recommendation to reappoint Barbara Griffin as the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission Commissioner with a term ending June 30th, 2028. She is one of 3 appointed commissioners.
I move to reappoint Barbara Griffin as one of Goffstown's SNHPC commissioners with a term expiring June 30th, 2028.
Second.
Motion by Jim, seconded by Mark. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes 4-0. Okay, now we're moving on to any new business to come before the board?
The only thing is, I did send out an email asking about one additional workshop meeting. Originally, it asked for May 13th, but are board members able to be here on June 3rd at 6 p.m.? The purpose of that meeting would be to review the charter recommendation for the advisory river committee that was brought to you at your last meeting, and then also to look at the charter for the village bridge ad hoc committee, those two items.
I can be here.
Are you available, Carlos?
Yep.
Mark?
Yep.
All right, then we'll schedule it for June 3rd. It'll be at 6 PM. There will be a public meeting, but we will not do public comment or some of those other normal items because we have a
Workshop.
meeting on the 10th. Thank you.
Okay, first item on the old business is still working. And then firehouse sub-grant, have we heard anything?
No, we'll need to reapply in July. We missed one of the deadlines, so.
Okay. Ambulance one?
Everything's in service.
Okay.
Don't say that too loud.
DPW is not here, so we really can't ask Adam about that stuff. Got 1, 2, 3, 4 vehicles out.
He was expecting a couple of them back tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I got a question, Peter, on the trucks that we're looking at, DPW, they're all broken leaf springs. Are the leaf springs in the front? It doesn't, one of them says front. I'm just wondering, is it because
No, it
of,
says springs for front end alignment and reseal of PTO unit. That doesn't mean, you can't, if it's got broken springs in the rear, you can't do an alignment on it.
no, exactly, but I'm just wondering, have we changed anything in the plows, the way we hook them up? We added more weight to them? I just, you know, I can't remember the last time we saw anything with
What's
broken-
breaking all the springs?
Yeah, exactly, breaking all the springs, you know?
Well, we'll have to send a little note to Adam and ask him, how's that?
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll do.
Okay. Anything else? Is there anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment. Mark?
Go into non-public session, RSA 91A:3, 2 for compensation adversely, A, compensation, and C, adversely affects reputation. Anything else? Is that it there?
No, just those two items.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mark, seconded by Jim, that's roll
Yes.
call vote, yes, yes.
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 We'll be concluding the public portion of our meeting now and be going into non-public. Thank you for watching.